I'm Noah, 42, a grease-under-the-nails mechanic on the edge of Eugene. The night I knew it was over, Sloane kissed me with her eyes wide open and still didn't see me. Retreats. Team bonding. A phone that locked me out of my own life. Then a ping. Griffin. Miss last night already. That dress was illegal. My heart didn't race. It just quit. I heard her voice in my head. You're functional, Noah. Like a tool. Useful, not lovable. Tell me, if you were me, standing in a kitchen that suddenly felt like a crime scene, what would you do? Comment your answer. Like if this hits a nerve. Subscribe, because what came next is uglier than betrayal. And yes, there's proof. Stay. You won't forgive her either. I'm Noah, 42. I fix the cars other people give up on. And yeah, I thought marriage worked the same way. Tighten the bolts, clean the lines, keep it running. Then one tiny ping blew the engine. Let me take you to that kitchen, because if you're listening, I want you to smell the burnt coffee and feel the tile under your bare feet and hear the stupid little sound that changed my life. It started with that kiss. Eyes open, soul shut. Sloane's lips touched mine like a checkbox. Perfect hair, perfect blazer, perfect lie. Retreats, late meetings. We've got to launch. Don't wait up. And a phone that might as well have been a steel door with my name scratched off. You ever watch someone erase you while they're standing right in front of you? That was my home. My name faded from the mail, the fridge, the jokes. I became room tone. I became a shadow that took out the trash. That night, I was grabbing a beer, planning to pass out on the couch after 12 hours of hauling transmissions. House was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet where your thoughts get loud and mean. Then the tablet lit up. A pop. Griffin. Missed last night already. That dress was illegal. Illegal. Like my marriage was a crime scene and I was the chalk outline. My heart didn't sprint. It stalled. Full stop. Do you know that feeling when your stomach falls through the floor and somehow keeps falling? That was me. Barefoot. Dumb. Suddenly 90 years old. I told myself, don't touch it. Don't be that guy. Don't go looking for pain. And then my hand moved anyway. No passcode. Of course not, because the person who's been lying to you is always confident you won't look. The hidden Facebook popped open like a trapdoor. New name. Same face. Cropped just enough to fool strangers and humiliate me. Messages stacked like receipts for a life I didn't know she was buying. Scroll. Scroll. My wildfire. My alpha. Selfies in mirrors I didn't recognize. Hotels with carpets that looked expensive and ugly. The kind of laughter in her texts I hadn't heard in our house in months. You ever hear a ghost laugh? That's what it felt like. Like she'd exported joy to a new address and left me the echo. I didn't throw the tablet. I didn't scream. I just sank into the chair and let it pour over me. A slow flood. Pictures at a lake cabin. The Bend trip we were supposed to take last summer, but work is crazy. Receipts she bought on our joint card. Gas, wine, a room with a balcony and 2 glasses lined up like a punchline. I stared until the words blurred. When she came in, heels biting the hardwood, I met her at the door. Are you seeing someone? I asked. Voice flat. That was me doing triage on myself, holding my insides in with both hands. She blinked once, then smiled like I had just solved her riddle. You're boring now, Noah, she said. I need more. You could have cut me open and read that sentence like a billboard across my ribs. I'm boring. Not I'm sorry. Not let's talk. Just a diagnosis and a shrug. She walked past like I was a coat rack, into the bedroom where a suitcase sat like a verdict. Already packed. Zip humming like the last line of a bad song. I asked the dumb question anyway. You already packed? Staying with Griffin while we finalize things, she said, sliding makeup into a pocket. Arms crossed, chin tipped, like I was a slow student. She looked me dead in the face and added the blade. "You're a mechanic, Noah. Functional, useful, not aspirational. If you're watching right now, tell me, what do you do when the person who promised to love you ranks you under a dishwasher? Do you laugh? Do you beg? Do you burn the world down? Drop your answer in the comments, because I stood there hearing a dial tone where a heartbeat should be." She set a thin black file on the kitchen table. "You remember this? The prenup. The thing I signed because she said love needed clarity. I had grease under my nails the day we notarized it. I was proud to be safe for her. I thought that meant something. I thought faithfulness was a currency that kept its value. Look, this is grown up," she said. "You'll be taken care of." The condescension hit harder than any breakup line. Taken care of, like I was a stray she'd fed long enough to feel generous about rehoming. Hook moment, right here. She leaned in, and with a tone I wouldn't use on a stranger's dog, she whispered, "Don't embarrass yourself." That was the first time I felt actual anger slice through the shock. Not rage. Something colder. Clean. It sharpened the room. It made the edges of the cabinets and the glint of the faucet cruelly clear. My thumb rubbed a groove into the beer label. I said nothing. Because sometimes silence is the only sound big enough to hold a betrayal. She left. Door clicked. The house exhaled. I sat down and opened the file with hands I didn't recognize as mine. I was expecting legal fog. I got lightning. Clause 14, third paragraph. If either party engages in an extramarital relationship while still legally married, the non-offending party is entitled to 50% of any business assets acquired during the marriage. Read it again. Again. The words didn't change. My life did. I laughed. Ugly at first, then from somewhere deep. Because here's the thing. She wrote the bomb, labeled it "for your safety," and handed me the detonator. You feel that turn in your chest? That's hope remembering it still has a job. I packed a duffel, clothes, the coffee maker she never used, my old socket set. I left the house like a firefighter backing out of a burning room, face to the heat, never turning my back. I texted her in the morning while her world still looked normal. Took my boring face and your prenup seriously. Enjoy. If you're still here, and I hope you are, hit like so the algorithm doesn't bury this next bit, because it matters to anyone who's been lied to with a smile. I didn't go nuclear. I got methodical. Hurt is loud. Justice is quiet. And when I tell you what I did next, some of you will cheer, some of you will call me cold, and a few of you will finally sleep tonight knowing you're not crazy. Keep listening. You ever hold a piece of paper that feels like a loaded weapon? That was the prenup in my hands, ink that suddenly weighed more than a crowbar. People think mechanics are all torque and no brain. Let me be very clear. I read torque specs for breakfast. You give me instructions, I follow them. Clause 14 was an instruction. My heartbreak found a manual. First thing I did was get distance. I moved into a spare place my cousin had, a 2-room shoebox with ancient carpet and a view of a parking lot that collected more stories than rain. No Sloan perfume, no cornered conversations, no begging shadows, just quiet. The good kind. The kind where you can hear yourself plan instead of panic. If you've ever had to choose between screaming and documenting, pick documenting. Screaming is temporary. Paper is forever. I printed every screenshot, timestamps, locations, messages where Griffin called her wildfire and begged for the next day like my marriage was his rental car. Receipts from the joint card, gas, hotels, dinners. I called the hotels for invoices. Funny thing about businesses, they love paperwork. You treat the front desk like a human being. They treat your questions like a checklist. 2 emails later, I had dates, room numbers, and the kind of line items that make judges raise eyebrows. I didn't doctor a thing. I didn't need to. The truth looked photoshopped all by itself. Now listen carefully because this part matters and it's where the anger in my chest turned into direction. She told me she had a shark, a client-centered, aggressive strategist. Glossy website, three-piece smile. I booked a consult with him under a different last name because I wanted to watch the gears grind when truth met marketing. We picked a diner. I showed up early and ordered coffee I had no intention of drinking. My hands were steady. That surprised me. It shouldn't have. I've done delicate work my whole life, threading bolts, seating bearings. This was the same, just colder. He slid into the booth without looking up, said my fake name, and then I said mine, Noah. The look on his face was a stalled engine, the kind that tells you the belt snapped miles back and the battery is just pretending. I slid the envelope across. He didn't touch it at first because liars always hope for a miracle that keeps their hands clean. Then he opened it, and the miracle didn't come. You should have seen his pupils when he hit clause 14 highlighted in yellow. You could almost hear the calculator in his skull short circuit. He turned the page. Screenshots. He turned the page. Photos at the lake cabin in Bend. He turned the page. Credit card statements. Finally, he said quiet, almost respectful. You've already verified these? I build engines, I told him. I don't build fakes. Here's the line he said that made me want to shake his hand and walk out at the same time. This changes things. Translation. I can't sell a case that just set itself on fire. He didn't even try to talk tough. He massaged his temples like he could squeeze ethics back into the situation, and I said, not loud, not mean, just true. If I were you, I'd run. She steps on everyone who helps her. I left him with the envelope like a live grenade and a $5 bill under a cup of cold coffee, because a part of me still believes in tipping even when the world tips you over. 2 days later, Sloan called from an unknown number while I was elbow deep in a Ford transmission. What did you say to Lance? Her voice could cut drywall. I walked outside, wiped my hands on a rag, and let the sun hit my face. Good morning to you too, I said. He dropped me. She snapped. No warning. Said he can't represent me in good faith. What did you do? I read, I said. Something you counted on me not doing. She went quiet so hard I could hear the blood in my ears. Then came the script flip. You're manipulating the system. There it was, the trick where the thief accuses the vault. You wrote the system, I told her. I'm following it. And you think you deserve half my company? She asked, voice going soft with that pitying sweetness she saves for interns and waiters. You're functional, Noah. You fix things. You don't own them. That line, write it on a chalkboard for the class. You fix things. You don't own them. Do you feel your jaw tighten hearing that? I did. Drop me a comment if you've ever had your worth measured in utility and not humanity. Because right there, a spine grew where the wishbone used to be. Word traveled. People in her building talk. They always do. Did you hear? He's got the prenup. Clause 14, man. Griffin, the human cologne ad, started drifting. No texts. A longer pause between replies. Guys like that love fireworks but hate fallout. He didn't sign up to split profits with the husband she called a toolbox. Suddenly, the party's not fun when the bill shows up. Meanwhile, the board at her company started hearing the whispers. Investors don't like the taste of scandal, especially when it comes with contracts and screenshots. Temporary step down, they said, which is corporate for, you're already gone, we're just being nice about the calendar. She sold the downtown loft, moved to a condo near the airport where the view is convenience and regret. This is where some of you are going to ask, Noah, were you vindictive? Honest answer, I was disciplined. There's a difference. I hired a management firm to oversee whatever shares I ended up with because I know what I know, and corporate chess ain't it. I made an offer through her new lawyer. She could buy me out at full market value plus 10% for the insult. That wasn't a taunt. That was a price. She didn't respond. Couldn't. Liquidity has a way of collapsing when your reputation springs a leak. A week after the lawyer dropped her, Sloane showed up at my shop without calling, parking her Lexus diagonally like courtesy cost extra. She walked through the open bay and said, "We need to talk," like she owned the air in my lungs. I didn't look up from the brake caliper. "This is a workplace," I said. "Try email." She tried to lower her voice, to make privacy a favor I owed her. I kept mine steady and public. "I don't do private with people who lie for sport." Her mouth opened and closed. She left. For a second, I thought that was the end of the personal theater. I was wrong. 10 days later, Saturday morning, doorbell. No makeup, puffy eyes, blazer like she'd slept in it. She stepped inside without being asked and said, "Please don't take half. You'll ruin me." I looked at the same mouth that once said vows and now begged for exceptions to rules she wrote. "You ruined yourself," I said, and I swear the room got colder by 2 degrees. Then came the Hail Mary. "We can try again. No lawyers, no revenge, just us." I almost laughed coffee through my nose. "You missed the version of me that absorbed damage like a spare tire," I said. "That guy's gone." She cried. "Real or performed, I'm not the judge. I'm the plaintiff. And if you're still watching, hit share, because someone needs to hear this clean." Compassion and boundaries can exist in the same sentence. You can wish someone healing and still refuse to be their hospital. The papers went through. The prenup did what it said on the tin. I walked out of court holding equity in a company I once carried groceries for. If you call that revenge, you missed the point. It was a refund. Here's the part everyone asks me about. Do you feel better? The answer isn't fireworks. It's weather. The storm passed. The sky didn't apologize. It just opened. Relief came on ordinary mornings, not big victories. It smelled like coffee I brewed for myself in a kitchen that didn't lie. I set up the management firm to handle my shares because I meant it. I didn't want to be in boardrooms trying to decode jargon I could barely pretend to care about. I wanted oil under my nails, and a truck that actually starts. The checks hit the account like clockwork. I paid off debt that had been tugging at my ankles for years. Rebuilt the tow truck's transmission because irony deserves a happy ending. I bought a cherry red Ram because sometimes the kid inside you deserves a trophy just for surviving. I started fixing the house I moved into. Nothing fancy. Rehung the sagging gutter that had embarrassed me every time rain came. Power washed siding until it was the color I remembered. Replaced the porch light that never worked on the first try. Every little repair felt like a sentence in a language I wrote myself. If you've ever clawed back control one small task at a time, drop a comment. Because that's the real healing. That's the part nobody puts on Instagram. Dating? Yeah, I tried. Dinner, drinks, laughter that didn't have static on the line. I was honest from the jump. I'm rebuilding, not auditioning for a replacement wife. The women who understood stayed. The ones who wanted a project left. No hard feelings. I learned that peace isn't empty. It's full of things you finally have time to notice. Your nephew's grip on a fishing pole. The exact sound a socket makes when it seats right. The way a Sunday afternoon can smell like victory for no reason. Here's a scene you're waiting for. I was at my Friday coffee spot, same corner table, no drama, and there she was. Sloane, no entourage, no gloss. She looked human. That's not an insult. It's just new. Hair tied back, eyes puffy but alert. Blazer wrinkled like sleep didn't ask permission. She saw me before I could turn. Gave a small smile like we were classmates and not combatants. "How's life?" she asked. "Peaceful," I said. I meant it. Not happy clappy. Peaceful like a road with no potholes after a winter of dodging. "Do you ever think about what we had?" she asked, staring into a cup like it might show her a movie. "Sure," I said. "And I'm glad it's over." Not cruel, just accurate. She nodded slowly, like she'd practiced arguments. and had to shelve all of them when faced with a sentence that didn't need debate. "You look good," she said. "Yeah," I said. "I sleep fine now." She flinched, tiny, like the truth bit her tongue. I didn't drag it out. I left with my coffee, and the cold air outside felt like a brand new lung. People in the comments always ask, "Would you take her back if she really changed?" My answer is honest and boring. That door is a wall now. You can paint a wall, hang art on it, knock on it, whisper apologies through it. It's still a wall. My compassion doesn't require access, and yours doesn't either. If that hits home, like the video so it reaches the person who needs it tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. when their kitchen lights up and their stomach falls. Sloane never reached out again after that coffee shop. Pride, shame, both? I don't have clearance to read her mind. The company eventually stopped putting her name top center in press releases. Interim leadership, stability, refocusing, words that taste like rice cakes. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I set an automation to file the statements and went back to torque specs. I chose a smaller life on purpose because small done right is bigger than grand done hollow. There's a piece of this story I haven't said out loud because it sounds like a cliche until it's the only sentence that makes sense. I forgave her. Not quickly, not publicly, and not as a ticket back in. I forgave her because I didn't want my nervous system organizing itself around a person who once compared me to a dishwasher. I forgave her the way you take out old wiring, carefully, with the power off, one section at a time, checking for shorts. Forgiveness was the final repair, not the first. And one more thing for the angry hearts in the back. And believe me, I sat back there for months. Justice isn't always dramatic. Sometimes justice is monthly, direct deposit, boring, reliable. It doesn't scratch the itch the way vengeance fantasies do, but it feeds the part of you that buys fishing lures for your nephew and pays your tech a holiday bonus and tips the barista who knows your order before you speak. That's justice you can actualize. That's justice you can live inside. If you're in a kitchen tonight and a screen lights up with a truth you didn't ask to see, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to offer a checklist that kept me from drowning. Breathe, screenshot, save, step away, read what you signed, ask for help from people who don't benefit from your confusion. And when the ache spikes at 2 a.m., step outside. Look at the dark. It's not empty. It's room. Room for the life you build next. I know some of you want the line where she gets what she deserves. The movies love that. Real life gave me something better. I got what I deserve. A quiet truck cab with a full thermos. A shop where the bay doors open to morning air. Friends who don't disappear when the headlines do. A spine where the wishbone used to be. If you're still listening, drop your story in the comments. We're a strange club, the betrayed and breathing. We find each other by telling the truth. And yeah, subscribe if you want the next chapter, because I'm not done rebuilding. Not out of spite, out of gratitude. I'm collecting good days like socket sizes, one by one until the set is complete, organized, and mine. Here's where I land, and I'm saying it the way it actually feels, not the way a movie would wrap it up with a perfect bow. The court papers are signed. The checks arrive when they should. The shop doors roll up every morning and the air still smells like oil and coffee. Most days are quiet. Not empty. Quiet. I used to think quiet meant failure. Now it feels like room to breathe. Do I miss her? I miss who I thought she was. I miss the idea of us. I kept tuning up while the engine was already cracked. That's the part that still sneaks up on me in the grocery store, or when a song from an old summer creeps onto the radio. Grief is weird. It doesn't file an agenda. It just taps you on the shoulder and asks if you've got a minute. Some nights I do. Some nights I tell it to come back later because I have a life to run. People ask if I'm bitter. I'm not. I'm cautious. There's a difference. Bitterness keeps score with poison ink. Caution just checks contracts, checks character, checks in with your gut before you hand over the keys. If you've ever been where I've been, Standing in a kitchen while the truth lights up on a screen, you know what I mean. You learn to trust slowly, and you learn to trust yourself first. So here's the question I keep circling back to, and I want your honest take. Am I in the wrong? Not legally. We know how that shook out. I mean as a person, for following the rules she wrote, for choosing boundaries over second chances, for not playing the role of the understanding husband when the damage was deliberate and public. Some folks will say I should have forgiven and tried again. Others will say I didn't go far enough. I'm asking you, if you were me, what would you have done differently? What would right look like to you when love and respect stop lining up? Here's what I learned, and I learned it the long way. First, loyalty is not the same as silence. You can be loyal to the truth, to yourself, to the promises you made, and still refuse to cover for someone who torches the agreement. Second, paperwork matters. I know it's not romantic, but the things we sign when we're calm are the bridges that keep us from drowning when we're not. Third, recovery is boring, and that's beautiful. It's sleep that isn't haunted. It's a truck that starts. It's coffee that doesn't taste like dread. Healing isn't a fireworks show. It's a steady pilot light. I also learned I'm allowed to outgrow the version of me that swallowed pain to keep the peace. Peace doesn't need you to bleed for it. Peace needs you to choose it, again and again, with small decisions that look like maintenance. Call it the mechanic in me, but most miracles are just accumulated adjustments. If any of this sits heavy on your chest right now, if you're living in that in-between where your heart knows but your head is terrified to say it out loud, I see you. Take screenshots. Take your time. Take your power back gently, like removing a battery. No sparks if you do it right. And when you feel crazy, remember, gaslighting only works in the dark. Turn the lights on. Read what you signed. Listen to the people who don't benefit from your confusion. If this story gave you something, clarity, courage, even just a sense that you're not the only one pacing the kitchen at 2 a.m., tell me in the comments. Answer the question, was I wrong? Where would you draw the line? Hit like if it helped and share it with the one friend who keeps saying, I'm fine, when you know they're not. Subscribe if you want the quiet, unglamorous truth about what rebuilding actually looks like. I'm not selling revenge. I'm learning peace. And if you're here, I think you might be learning it too.